Welcome to Tara Talking, the podcast that's named after the blog that's just me, telling stories to offer help, healing, and hope as you journey into your passionate, purposeful, and prosperous life. Thanks for coming along on the ride, and now on to today's topic. So here's what I wanted to tell you today. And I want to tell you this because I care so deeply about making sure that if you are going through whatever you're going through, and it doesn't have to be that there's this hierarchy of that what you're going through deserves to have a certain response or deserves a certain amount of your own angst, right? Like there's not any kind of measure by which we have to say, oh, well, that's something that's easy. You should be able to just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and move on. I realize that we as humans have a tendency to do that. But I want you to know that whatever it is that you are going through, there is someone out there who cares. I care deeply. And even if I don't know you personally and I don't know all the details of what you're going through, who I am and what I'm meant to do in this world is to show up, is to just be here to be able to say to people, hey, I can sit here and figuratively hold your hand in the dark because I get how lonely those dark times can be when there's no one there to just sit with you. I remember so many times, and mine would mostly focus around times when Kendall was in the hospital. And it would be late at night. We'd finally get her calmed down from whatever medical crisis had been going on that day. And I was finally in a place where it was quiet. And there would be nights, many nights, where I would distract myself. I would stay on the internet or I would watch whatever stupid TV show was on just so that I didn't have to turn off the lights and be alone. Because that sense that it's just you against the world can be one of the truly loneliest feelings, even though in the hospital I was surrounded by people, but I felt alone. And I don't like knowing that there's so many people who go through some really hard things alone. And I realize that each person has their own journey. I can't tell you like, hey, gather up a team of people and go through your hard stuff alone. As much as I know that is the best way to get through some stuff, it's not always practical. Obviously, I went through some stuff alone. But where I want to be able to help you is to realize that I didn't have to be alone. And you may feel like you have to be alone, that there's no one there who cares, that there is no one else there for you. But I challenge you to really think of, is there no one there? Or are you not asking? Are you not seeking help and support in ways that you could be? This is a little bit tough love, while I also hope that it's encouraging on some level, because I was pushing away people. I didn't have to be alone in those times. And yet my pain was so heavy. My fear would fill a room. And I didn't want to burden anyone else with that. I didn't want to feel like I was too much, because so much of my life I had been made to feel like I was too much. And I had to come to a place where I realized that I was responsible for feeling that way. Sure, there are things that people say to you. There are actions that people commit against you that lead to you having those feelings, having those thoughts that you're too much. But what I want you to really know is that the choice is always yours. You get to decide that how you are isn't too much. It is absolutely perfect. but no one else can make that choice for you. You have to decide to feel into that. Just the same way that you then have to decide that you are worth asking for help. You might hear some no's, and that can be disheartening. But don't stop asking. Don't stop looking for ways that you can be surrounded by support. That's what I'm here to do. That is what I want so much for you guys to know, that even if you don't necessarily join one of my programs or buy one of my courses, come into my world, come into my group on Facebook, Grow with the Flow, come into this podcast. You're listening to this podcast. That's one way. Hear the encouragement, receive whatever it is that you're ready to receive, because this is how you learn to heal. You learn to heal when you can show up and ask for help. And even if you're not asking for it, you're seeking it, right? Like you're listening to this podcast. Maybe you're watching some YouTube videos. Maybe you're reading some books. Those are all you deciding to take some steps for yourself on your journey to healing. Because through healing is where you find hope. And if you've been in my world at all for any amount of time, you probably have heard me say my favorite quote from one of my favorite movies, Shawshank Redemption. At the end, Andy Dufresne is writing a letter to his friend Red, and he says, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. And then he says, I hope that this letter finds you well. I hope that you come see me down in Zihuatanejo in Mexico, where he had escaped prison to. And then Red contrasts that with, he's on the bus going down to Zihuatanejo, and he is saying all the things that he hopes for. And it's just this beautiful contrast of the fact that you don't really ever know where you're going to end up, but keep that hope alive. Hope for something good. Again, I realize that there's times where our hopes have been dashed. There's times where it feels pointless to hope in something because it seems like those things never come true. And I know that disappointment. I know how tough it is to trust that good things can happen to you. I know that it's tough to believe that when you ask for help, someone can say, sure, tell me what I can do. I know those things are tough. I've been there. I've spent the long, dark, heavy nights sitting on a cold plastic couch in my daughter's hospital room, feeling utterly alone. Knowing that I could pray to God and ask for peace and ask for hope and ask for healing, and have so many days where it just didn't feel like it was going to happen. I know that loneliness. I know that pain. But in the reverse, I also know that when hope starts to shine, that life starts to change. And when I could focus on even just the tiniest spark of hope, that my whole mood, my whole mindset started to shift. And I started to then look for another spark to add to that first one and another one on top of that. That's what I hope for you. Wherever you're at and whatever you're going through today, right now, as you're listening to this, find the one spark. You have to decide that it's there. You have to decide that you're ready to look for it. And you have to know that you're worth it, that there is hope, that there is healing, that there are people who want to help. I think that that's all that I wanted to say for this one. Maybe it's short, sweet, and to the point. But I just want you to know that I'm infusing my love and my care for whatever it is that your heart is carrying right now into this episode. If you're hearing these words, I hope that you're receiving this energy. And I'd love to continue this conversation. There are ways in the show notes to get a hold of me, or to just, like I said, come into my world. Come into the group on Facebook. Even if you're not on Facebook, I promise you it's worth it to be there, to just come. I've had a busy summer, but we're getting back to the place where I'm just showing up to help walk you through these things. I don't have all of the answers, but I'm here to answer your questions. I don't have a magic 8-ball that I can just shake and tell you, oh, your life is going to be better in 24 hours. I wish I could. I would do it for everyone who needs it. But I show up. And when you're ready to move forward in your life, come show up with me. I went from having those dark nights in the hospital and feeling alone and feeling lonely to creating a beautiful life beyond what I ever thought I was worth, beyond what I ever thought I could. And it doesn't have anything to do with money or with prestige or with having luxury things. It's simply about the fact that I see the sun a lot more. I see the light. I see the beautiful sparks that make life what it is. And I just want to tell you how you can do that too. Thank you so much for being here on this episode. Again, I infused it with so much of my love. I hope that it lands where it needs to. If you know someone who needs to hear this episode, I hope you'll share it with them. And I hope that maybe this little pep talk, if you will, of the fact that there is hope. There is always hope. Hope is a good thing. And good things are going to happen. I hope that good things happen to you. And if you aren't sure that you can believe in that, let's talk about it. Let's talk about whatever it is that has happened to you, because once you address things, once you are able to speak your pain out loud, once you can get real clear about the fact that you could be angry, you can be bitter, you can be sad, you can be depressed, you can be anxious, you can be all of those things. Feel your feelings and then decide you're ready to shift out of what no longer feels good to you. If I could make this happen for every person, believe me that I would. But the choice has to be yours. The first step of action has to be yours. You have to decide you're ready to shift out of the dark loneliness and into the place of hope and sunlight and bright, just a bright vision for your future. You may not even know how to make that happen. And you may not be at a place where you're ready to do the work and make it happen. But whenever you are, you get to make that choice. You are always in charge of being able to make choices. That's what I want you to know today. I'm so glad that you're here. I hope that you have heard this and absorbed it, and that maybe if you're ready for it to start changing your life, that it starts to. But no matter what, I hope that you know that there is someone who cares and someone who is ready to help. And that's me. You are capable. You are worthy. You are good. You are anything that you want to be. You just got to believe it. I hope that you start to believe it. And I hope that you stay tuned for the next episode. Come join me inside of Grow with the Flow. All the good links are down in the show notes. And I hope that good things start to happen to you. Thanks for being here. I love you guys.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of Tara Talking. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Find me pretty much everywhere on the interwebs as @Tara Talking, that's TERRATALKING, or at my blog, taratalking.com. Your reviews, comments, and shares are always so appreciated. May you prosper well as you live your most passionate, purposeful life this week. And as always, keep on keeping on.